Well, all right, everybody. It's about that time. It's time for the Good News Show. And I'm your girl. I'm Mathell Givens, your host. And with me is...
Hey, it's your favorite co-host, this man the man. I love you all. Happy to be here tonight. Welcome to the Mathell Givens Show.
Hey, we got nothing but good news for you. You know that. You know, on this show, we don't talk about no bad news now. It's all about good news. We have good fun. We laugh. We chat. We have a lot of good information for you. But at the same time, we have so much fun. And that's what it's all about. And so right now, get ready for the Good News Show. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
You know how we do it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Something about tonight, it just feels right. Something about tonight feels right. Oh, yeah, yeah. Welcome to the Good News Show, y'all. Come on. Hey, all the friends, get ready to lean in. I know we got a great one of guests. Something about tonight. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hey.
You know how we do it on the Good News Show. We have to start off with our good news. Woo! Yeah. Because it is really something about tonight. And it is right. Yeah.
All right, everybody getting wound up. Get your energy up. Get your energy up. You want some good vibrations out there. Hey.
All right, everybody. Woo! Yeah. This is the Good News Show, and we just want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight. And we appreciate you tuning in each and every week, don't we, Van the Man?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, it's our plum pleasing pleasure to have you back week after week, helping the drinkers to number one.
All right. There's no show like us out here. And tonight, I am honored to let everybody know that we have on our show, her name is Tasha O. Man, I'm telling y'all, listen, Tasha O is a phenomenal woman. She's our guest tonight. She is a woman who loves, I hear some noise. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm okay. Because she is so great and so good, I'm telling you, everything in the house want to be talking. But listen, I'm going right back over that. Tasha O is in the house tonight. She is a woman who loves the Lord. She is a beautiful wife, mother, daughter, sister. She's a good friend. Tasha O is an author of a book entitled Mustering the Strength to Fight. Can you imagine mustering the strength to fight? Tasha is a woman that wears many hats. Looking for a new home? Anybody looking for a new home? Well, she can sell you a new home too. And she also has her own clothing line. Everybody, without any further delays, I just want you to put your hands together and welcome to the show, Tasha O. This is our friend, and she's, gonna be a friend to you too after you hear what she has to say tonight. Without any further delay. Yes. Welcome, Tasha. Welcome. Hey, Tasha.
Well, thank you so much for having me in that amazing introduction. I told you you're not gonna have me on this show blushing the whole time.
Oh my God, well, you're awful beautiful. I mean, just absolutely a picture of beauty, sweetie.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before you tell us about I want to hear about your new book too. I definitely want to hear about your new book. So tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, well, she pretty much summed it up with that amazing introduction. I don't have much left to say, but wow, this is just an honor. In addition to everything she said, I am resilient. I'm a woman of faith, and God has put me in some situations sometimes where, when you feel like you can't trace him, you have to trust that he's always there. And so I've been able to be just an encouragement for a lot of people. And I just believe that this book was the birthing of me speaking to the world, because I've always been a very quiet person. I want to be your cheerleader behind the scenes, but this book birthed something new in me. And so I'm excited to see what God does and where he takes me.
Beautiful. Well, would you please tell us a little bit about your book and how you came about writing the book? That's the most important. It's how you came about writing this book, Mustering Up the Strength.
Absolutely. So sometimes in life has a tendency to invite us to fights that we are never prepared for. And when I tell you, this was the fight of my life, and it was something that even still to this day, sometimes I question, that I actually went through it. Well, years ago, I found myself in a situation where three of my siblings got into a fight.
Didn't get no
And
brush.
siblings fight, and I don't know why this time was different, but one of my siblings passed away from his injury. And so there I was, faced with losing a sibling, and then also the possibility of my brother going away for 20 years. And so at that moment, I had to decide, you know what, I've already lost one brother and I don't want to lose two. And so God graced me to be able to fight for my brother. And I just felt like in that moment, he even allowed me to have just this supernatural compassion for him, because even though I was grieving the situation that happened, even though I was grieving my younger brother dying, and now the possibility of one brother serving 20 years to life, I can't even, I wanted to say, I can't tell you where I got the strength from, but I know that that strength came from God, because this incident happened one Friday evening. By Saturday morning, I was telling my husband to drive me to the jail to see my brother. And people question, like, are you sure it's so soon? Are you going to be able to handle that? And it was at that moment, I'm telling you, the strength that I got, it was nothing but God that graced me to do it, because I was able to go down there and look my brother in the face and tell him, you know what? It's not like I don't love the brother or love the brother who died any less than you or any more than you, but I feel like this is what God has called me to do. And so even at that time when family was not necessarily supportive of him, of course, naturally this just happened. And my mom lost a son, my siblings lost a brother. So I just wanted to look him in the face and say, you know what, you may not have anybody else, but you have me. And so I wanted to be that fighter for him. And it was on from there. I did everything in my power to fight to make sure that I wasn't going to lose another brother. And unfortunately, I did wind up losing another brother, because after I got done fighting for my one brother, my other brother involved in the fight, he developed mental illness, and he was killed by SWAT. So here it was, I had this very, it is breathtaking to even still speak it right now, to think that I was in a situation like this. But there was just so many times that, and I just didn't know how I was gonna muster up the strength to fight. But the times when I couldn't pray, the times where only the tears would fall. And, at the time I had just had a baby. My youngest was 6 months old. And I was going through so many things and just having to get up and just still be strong for everybody else. And God was carrying me. And I'm often reminded of the poem Footprints. When you feel like God isn't there, he was carrying me, because he was definitely the wind behind my back in this situation. No other words.
Well, I think that is such a blessing, Tasha. Your testimony is so powerful. I'm just listening to the situation, and I'm saying to myself, how did you lean on what scriptures did you lean on? What music helped undergird you? I know you had to really lean on your husband and on the people around you. Tell us about those things.
You know what? I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me. And I'm telling you,
Yes.
when I think about it, and people are like, well, how were you able to go down there and face your brother? You know what? Just that, he's my brother. And everybody needs somebody on their worst day. This may not be your story, but everybody has a story. And I tell people, imagine on the worst day you can think of in your own life. Imagine not having not one person to encourage you, to lift you up, to say, you know what, you're going to get through this. You can make it through this. I wanted to be that for my brother. It didn't matter what anybody else felt about it. I feel like when God calls you out to do something, even if you have to stand alone, you have to stand alone. And so while, it was a lot of me going back and forth to be with him in court, having people from my church watch my baby, I just needed to be there. I wanted to send a message to the judge that this wasn't another Black man who was thrown away, who didn't have a family member. And trust me, the state's attorney couldn't stand me. I'm 5'2", he was 6'2", and he thought he was but that was not the story. I made it clear because I remember, every time my brother would have a court date, I wanted to be there. And when they would bring him out, I stood up on the front row to send a message to the judge, like, he has somebody. So don't think we're going to just go through the system and we just going to throw away the key here. It's not going to be that situation. I made that known to the public defender. I may not be able to pay you $100,000. This may be through the state, but he has somebody. So not only was I fighting with him, I was calling him, do this, do that. Here's these testimony reviews from family members, do that. It got to the point where the poor man was like, you know what, I'm gonna give you my cell phone number. Do you want to meet one day? Because look, we're not, I was just not, I'm telling you, as I sit here and speak about it, you all know me, the very quiet, laid back person. And I'm thinking, where did all that come from? God was just supernaturally working through me. And so, man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that he graced me to do it. I'm grateful that he has given me the heart he has, because I've always been a fighter. I'm going to fight for the underdog. I don't care what it is. And so this just happened to be my brother. And, it put me in a very tough spot to be in, because when you think about it, I was right there in the middle. The person I was fighting for was my brother. The person that I lost was my brother. And I was fighting against the state's attorney who was trying to get justice for a brother. And so it left me in an extremely tough spot to be in, but I'm just so grateful that I have the relationship that I had with God, because there's no way I could have gone through that on my own.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we truly see the love of God. And I love that it's so inspirational, because people don't realize that the more that you have a willing spirit and you just say, yes, God, I'll do it. Yes, I'm gonna empty myself out, allow you to fill me up. And you were operating in a spirit that you had to know that it was God, because you were challenged on every side of this equation. You have one brother that you're grieving for, one brother that you're pulling for, and you've got to fight. You got to fight on your hands. And this is really an inside job. This is something in your heart that is causing you to say, there's still a love debt that's here. That we have to not have such a punitive system of justice, but we got to look for the ability to be able to restore this other brother to the community. How do we truly have a correctional justice system when we're supposed to have a Department of Corrections if we're not trying to restore people to the community? If the idea is to punish them, if the idea is only to punish them, then we should not call it the Department of Corrections.
Correct. Absolutely.
And that's the love of God that was God in you. That's the love of God inside of you that was willing to take on this love burden and to move forward and to talk on behalf of your heart on what made heart sense. All of this stuff that makes head sense. We got all of this analytical stuff we can throw on the table. We can look at it from an analytical position, and we can say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But we are guided, we are told in the scripture to love the Lord our God with all our heart and to love our neighbors though we love ourselves. Now, if that is our commandment that we're left with, then those footsteps that you saw walking when you didn't feel like you could carry yourself, you know it was God. When you look back over your shoulder and it didn't feel like anybody else was there, you know that it was God that was guiding you and already made provision for you to go forward. I know how you was mustering the will to fight. I know that's.
Amen.
I know that love lifted you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm sitting here and I'm hearing, you were born to fight and you were born to win.
Amen.
Amen. That's what I just heard.
Amen. I
Praise
receive it in Jesus' name.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Mm.
that is powerful. I am truly astonished because this is not the young Tasha that we knew 20 years ago that was quiet and that was looking to find a voice. This the child of experience. This is, you've been going through what they say, a birthing process. You've been
And still am.
something inside of you has been growing, and it's been in its purpose, and its purpose, and its purpose, and its purpose. And every day it seems like people, they want to have God in their lives, but some people don't understand the challenges that come with having God in your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
God-filled and a God-purpose life. Sometimes it means we go through mentally, physically, and spiritually. And in order so that we can be a walking epistle read amongst all men, your walk, your ability to stay in love, that's the real fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is. It's definitely a birthing process. And, sometimes when we go through things, we know we can't question God, but something in us wants to say, man, well, why me? Or why was I in this position? And I remember having a conversation with one of the women who leads prayer from our small group every Thursday morning. And she just said, you know what? I admire your resilience. She said, if I haven't told you, you are a very resilient woman. And she said, when I think about all you've gone through, all you're going through, all you've overcome, she was like, God gives the toughest battles to the people that he knows who can handle it. And he knew that you can handle it. We don't get to pick and choose what we go through. And Lord knows nothing I have gone through in my life I would have I would have chosen. But God, I just thank God for the grace to go through it. And one of the things that I really, in addition to what we've talked about, that I think is so critical, especially in a time that we're in the culture we're in, especially I'm going to narrow it down and say our culture. So many people are hurting, so many people have lost hope. And I have to touch on the part with my brother, because the brother who developed mental illness, we have to stop, excuse me, we have to stop this thing in our culture where we're afraid to go to therapy. Listen, I have a therapist and I go every week gladly. I have Jesus and I have a therapist, and my faith and techniques and being able to have that person that I can be vulnerable with and talk to as a therapist has helped me in my healing process. Not just this thing, in many things. Even taking it back to childhood. There are so many things that we deal with in childhood that play a part in what we go through right now. When this thing happened, my brother, Brandon, he was extremely smart. He was very gifted in like math. And I just saw this big change in him. He started to act strange. He started to be a little bit more reserved. And I'm just like, you know what? Maybe you should seek some therapy, because this is a lot to go through. He was actually there. And he would always say, no, I'm okay, big sis, I'm okay, but I could see it. And so I just kept kind of pressing him on it. And he never would take it. He never would take my offer on it. I'm like, well, I'll even go with you. He never would want to go. And his mentality said, I'm not going to go and talk to a stranger looking at me, judging me, or, telling my business to a stranger. While I understand that's the culture, unfortunately, that we've been brought up in, what happens in this house stays in this house, couldn't be further from the truth, because that's half of the problem that we're dealing with today, that people are not going through the process. I've been guilty of it. We want to skip the steps because it doesn't feel good. It hurts. It's a lot to go through, but everything in me wish my brother had sought therapy. And I think that even when we think about raising our Black men, it's one thing I never did with my kids as Black boys. If you fall down, don't cry, don't be a baby, get up, dust yourself off. That didn't hurt. It actually did hurt. I hurt myself. Allow people to go through the process. And I use that example because it's taught men that it's like you're weak if you cry, and so those were all the things that my brother had gone through. But unfortunately, in our case, the intervention really didn't help, because the morning that he was killed, I actually watched it on the news and didn't know it was my brother. I was on my way to school. My husband and I were getting dressed for work, and I was getting dressed for school, and I saw in a news report about this man being killed in Harvey by SWAT. And I was just like, I wasn't really paying attention, but I was kind of like in and out of it. Get to school around 1, 2 o'clock. I just go to my phone and I see so many missed calls. And I didn't look at all the missed calls, but I get a call from another brother that said, did you hear? And I'm like, hear what? And he's like, well, Brandon has been killed. Now and I'm like, killed? Like, he was kind of like me, I'd never known him to be in any trouble. I'm like, why would somebody shoot my brother? And he was like, well, he was killed by SWAT. So now that just left me with all sorts of different emotions, like what caused him to even get in that type of situation. But man, this has definitely been nothing but the grace of God, who has even kept me sane, that I didn't lose my mind mentally, and so I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for how God has used me, how he's going to use me. And it's just forever in my heart just to, be grateful for the grace that we get every single day we wake up.
Yes. You have spoken from the heart, and I know you're reaching a lot of people that are out there that, for a moment, I just want to touch on the idea that mental illness is real. And you are right. There is something systemic in our society that we have become desensitized to the idea all our mind, body, and spirit. This flesh doesn't. Every time you squeeze it or pinch it, ouch, that does hurt. And it's very good to acknowledge that. There are so many people out here that are suffering privately for stuff that they have learned publicly. And we have a lot of unlearning to do. Mm-hmm. We have to do the work and sit down and dialogue with one another and make it acceptable to have hearts and to be open with one another and to love each other unguarded. We throw so many labels on to one another. We have so many of these unspoken rules that we have to live up to, that it has us all under pressure. And we just all need the opportunity to be human and to have a moment to appreciate being here, because being here is the blessing. It's amazing. And that's what really taking care of one another looks like. We have to get past all of this stuff where we're rushing to make judgment. And that's part of what probably went into the moment that your brother was stuck in. Unfortunately, Black men get judged by the color of their skin. There's an assessment that if there's any type of sign that there is any mental impairment, it isn't dealt with patience. It isn't dealt with the eye of someone who has a clinical background, because we have police officers, unfortunately, that only get about 3.5 months worth of training before they are thrown out into a field where they actually have to deal with people that aren't always caught in criminal acts, but are caught in moments of mental distress.
Absolutely.
We got a lot of work to do. You brought up a lot of issues that come to the forefront when you began to speak.
Absolutely. And it's true. As I've been sharing about my book, it kind of bothers me, because even some of people in the Christian environment, it's like my relationship with God is not diminished because I'm seeking a therapist. God is always the foundation. But these very people that he has out here, he's also given a gift. And it's their gift to be able to handle people in this situation. I couldn't do what my therapist does. It's biblical and practical.
Yes.
You got to have biblical and practical. And I'm not saying don't go to church or don't have your relationship with God. Absolutely. Find a therapist that works for you. I went through 4 to 5 therapists to try to find the one that connected to me. And I also think that another thing that I think that deters us from going to therapy is that we don't feel like we can connect if we don't have the same color skin. I'll be the first person to say, I felt like that. I'm like, you know what? I got to find somebody who connects with me. You do. I do, in fact, believe you do. But throughout the process, I've had an African-American therapist. Right now, I have a Caucasian therapist. I'll never forget the very first day I sat in her chair about maybe 6 months ago. She said to me, you know what? We may not be the same skin color, but our blood is red. We both bleed the same. She says, I'm going to do everything in my power to connect with you. This is a safe zone. It's not judgmental. And so I think it's just about having the patience And even before you have the patience, you got to have the will to want to seek help. I knew that I was going through things that I couldn't do on my own. Yes, I'm praying. You know, we want to say God's going to take care of it. He is going to take care of it, but you also have to do the work. He's not going to come down here and do it for us.
That's
You
right.
know, he's
Come on.
giving us our Bible. Yes, read your Bible, get in your word, know God for yourself. But he's also giving people here who are well equipped with gifts to be able to work in this area. And we need so much more of that. You know, and we have to stop shining.
Advocate, teach, yes.
Honestly,
Advocate, yes.
we have to stop shining people who decide to seek therapy. You know, some people don't even want to tell you they have a therapist. Listen, my appointment is Wednesday. I'll be there tomorrow.
I love it, Tasha. I love it. See, people look at you from the outside and they judge a book by its cover. And I tell people all the time, don't let the smooth taste fool. Okay, I have a testimony. I had some tests that I've had to pass in my life, and they come along with being able to unlearn a lot of stuff that I took on, that I learned, that I assigned to my character, and I don't have to carry the weight of that stuff anymore. What is mustering the strength look like for you? It ministers when you talk about mustering your strength, it makes me understand how I can advocate and tell people what mustering my strength looks like and how it may help them. What do you want people to get most out of your book?
You know what? I want people to realize that life is going to invite you to these fights and you have no control of it. It's what you do with it. You're either going to get knocked down and stay down, or you're going to get up and fight. And you have to be able to go through the process. Don't skip the steps. Don't skip the steps. I don't care whether it's grieving, hurt, trauma, pain. Don't skip the steps, because I can tell you right now, in therapy, I'm having to backtrack, because my thing was, you know, even as a young girl, I've always been a fighter. I've always been a natural encourager. You know, sometimes you sacrifice yourself to be that thing that you wanted somebody to be to you, you know, and so I have that natural fighter in me. And it got to a point where I'm just like going through different things in my life. And I'm like, I need to be that fighter that I've been for everybody else, for myself right now.
Come on now.
That led me to say, you know what? I have to seek therapy. I have God. I know God. God has been with me. The only reason I'm sitting in this chair having this interview with you right now is because God has been with me. The things that I've even gone through in my childhood, it's just been so much unpacking. And like you said, so much unlearning, but you have to make up in your mind that you want to fight, that you are worth the fight. You are worth the fight, and that you have to take the steps. Nobody is going to come and do this for us. Nobody is going to say, you know what, let me come and rescue you. I had to realize that I had to take that big cape off my back with the big T that jumped up to fight for everybody else and say, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to love, I'm still going to encourage, I'm still going to be the person that God has equipped me to be, but I'm also going to be that for myself. And so it was when I learned that, you know what, I'm worth fighting for. I have to dig inside of myself and fight just as hard as I've fought for everybody else and everything else for myself. And it was when you make that decision, you'll do anything that you have to get there. There are things I'm still going through. There are things that I've gone through in the past and I'm still dealing with. But it's a process. And just like my therapist says, because I used to have this habit of saying, oh, I'll just get through it. She said, no, you're not going to just get through it. We're going to go through it. We're going to go through the steps. We're going to process. You're not going to rush the steps. And she was like, so anybody who's telling you that, you know, and sometimes we are also, how can I put this? People will say that it's like they want to rush your healing. There's no such thing as rushing your healing. I'm not saying you have to stay in that place. You're not a victim, but you have to be able to go through the process. And one thing that my therapist shared with me was, it wasn't whatever you went through. It may not have been your fault, but it's your fault. It's your responsibility for the healing. It may not have been your fault, and you have to be validated in that thing so that you can move forward. It did happen. You know, it's like in my brother's, in the situation with my siblings, it did happen. Acknowledge the fact that it did happen. And now let's work to get into the other side. You know, so it's a process. And I'm just gonna say, grieve well, go through it well. Even in that statement, when I used to hear people say grieve well, like, what is grieving well? Grieving well looks like going through the process, going through the steps, allowing yourself to heal and to feel. And so
I love it. I
We
love it.
don't even have enough
You
time
got
for
to
me.
focus on the now and the.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know we just done cracked the top on all this great wisdom and conversation and experience he's been teaching you. But I truly understand that you are focusing on the now and on the how. And that is incredible. Your walk is big. I know Mama May is inspired by you.
I am. I am. And you know, I used to have a very good friend that was a psychologist. And he used to always tell me, he said, you know, what I advise a person to do when they come to see me is not to just tell their friends, because a lot of them are not educated to know that corporate people, professional people go through psychotherapists, because it's a lot of pressure at the top.
Mhm.
And he says, when you start to tell people that you're going to see a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist, they then began to say, oh, she crazy,
Mhm.
you know, because they're just not educated and they're not willing to deal with their own problems. They don't even know how to begin. And, you know, they just have a stigma of psychologists. When they think of that, that's what they've been told, that
Mhm.
only people go to see psychiatrists or psychologists are people that are crazy. And that is not so. And I just love the way you have explained things. That's good news, because I just believe that someone listening may perhaps go and get some help, and keep it quiet. You don't have to tell anybody where you're going, who you're going to see. Help yourself. That's what's important. And if this helps you, because that's a place, there's a place for everything. There's a place to go for everything that is needed. When we're hungry, we go to the store. When we need to get our hair done, we go to the beautician. There's a place for us to go when we have some signs of things that's a little bit too heavy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you've stated well. You know, now we're gonna run out of time almost. We still have about 20 minutes, but I know you want to touch bases on your real estate as well.
Okay.
And before we go there, let's tell everybody how to get your book.
Okay. My book, Mustering the Strengths of Flight, is on Amazon, and you can also purchase it at Born to Empower Her, the number 2, empowerher.com. And so, yeah, those are the two places that you can purchase. You can also follow me on my social media pages by looking up my name or Born to Empower Her, and to connect with me. I share a lot of inspiration, and I've shared a lot of inspiration about this book and just life in general on my page. So it's no nonsense. We're not doing a buffoonery on my page. And if you want to be inspired and uplifted, I definitely say follow as I talk about the lessons from the book, because we don't want to highlight the trauma. We want to highlight the triumph.
All right. Do you have a website for them to go to? Would you be able to give them your full name?
Sure. It's Tasha, Tasha, the last name Odunuyi. And the website is Born, the number 2, empowerher.com.
All right. Let's say it one more time. Oh, that's
All
great.
right.
Born to empower her.
Born, the number
That's
2, empowerher.com.
okay. And your name again?
It's Tasha, Tashaodunuyi.
All right. Okay. Are you in any stores?
No, I'm not in any stores yet, but I just believe God to open up some doors and look for other things to come, like some plays and skits. And so who knows?
All right. TV shows too, huh?
Okay, we claim it.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Claim it.
I'm a man. My son and I, we're affiliated with Mr. James Dentley with JD3 TV network. And so we'd like to introduce you to his network, and we're going to be on his network. And
Nice.
that may be a great place to even get started. It's like an on network, okay?
Absolutely. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
So now we need to know for people that are looking for houses.
Okay.
Okay. They can come to you as well.
Absolutely. And so my mission with and Born to Empower Her is just that, to empower people. You know, we can look good on the outside, but I want to make sure that you feel good on the inside and that your financial house is together. And so my mission is to empower people through home ownership. You know, you can follow me. I'm an agent with Keller Williams, Inspire in Geneva. However, I can go to different areas and I can serve anybody across the US. So whether you're relocating to Texas or Atlanta, I can still assist you in your relocation. You can find me at Tasha, again, my last name, Odunuyi, on Facebook and Instagram. And reach out to me. I definitely love to assist you in your home purchases, whether it's buying, selling, investing, Airbnbs. You got it. It's time for us to think bigger. You know, there's a lot of resources that are out here for us, and we don't take advantage. And sometimes we just don't know. You don't know what you don't know, but it's up to you to reach out to find out.
Well, one thing I can say is the sky is the limit.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. All right. Hey, as far as you can see it, I mean, that's as far as you can go. Just keep on looking straight up. That's what I love about daytime. When I look out in the daytime, ooh, I can see far. But when I stand in the window and look out at night, I can't see too far. Although if I look up, I can see all the stars if they're out that night, and I can see the moon if it's out that night. But when I wake up in the morning, ooh-wee, and I look out, ooh, I can see so far. I can see over the top of houses. Sometimes I think I'm Superwoman.
You're amazing. I've always loved you. You've always been very consistent. You all have always been consistent. I love consistent people.
Oh, well, we love you too, baby, because you are consistent as well. And we just love you to life, you and your entire family. Yes, we do. All right. Now we've got a clothing line. Tell us a little bit about your clothing line.
All right, so my clothing line is Diella Designs, is Diella Designs, and that's the website, dielladesigns.com. You can also find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at dielladesigns.com. And my mission there is also, it's always foundation to empower people to stand up unapologetically, for women to walk into rooms and command the room. You know, and so fashion is just a house that I believe that God uses for me to connect with people. You know, I don't have to give you 100 scriptures for you to encounter me and know that there's something in me. And it's just a way for me to, it's marketplace ministry, to put it in simplest form. So
Come on.
Now,
I mean, your gift continues to make room for you. I was sitting over here like, how many jobs you got, girl? You're an author. You're a clothing designer,
no, and
real
see
estate agent.
And that's one of the things too that I've had to learn. You know, I'm gifted in a lot of things, but it's not about doing all the things all the time. You have to be in alignment and ask God what it is that He wants you to do in this season. Right now, real estate is dominant. Fashion, yeah, I mean, I dress. So bringing that fashion piece in, I want to show other agents, you know what? We can still be classy and we can still show up. I'm not showing up to a luxury home wearing jeans and a t-shirt. If that's what you do, I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying presentation is everything, you know, and if we think that people don't judge us by our appearance, we're wrong. And so it's just about showing up, you know, being confident. It's how you command that room when you enter. You know, it doesn't matter how many people are in the room, but what's your presentation in that room? And so I just think that fashion piece goes into it. And so that's the season I'm in right now. The book was something that was birthed in quarantine. It was out of obedience. You know, we had nothing but time on our hand for 2 years. And I've been talking about this book. I've been prophesied about this book. When is this book going to happen? So I started getting up 30 minutes, getting up in the morning, writing for 30 minutes. 30 minutes became an hour became 2 hours. Before I know it, in 6 months, I had a book.
Come on. All right. A little bit every day. A little bit every day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, back to your clothing line. I want to ask one question because I know a lot of ladies are going to want to know this. What sizes do you make?
I do small to 3X. And right now, Diella Designs is going through not necessarily a rebrand, but What I do right now is going to stay my specialty line, and I'm coming out in addition to that line, some other pieces like boutique pieces and accessories, just all things that women need. I think everything has to go through an evolving process. And so right now, when you go onto my website, dielladesigns.com, you'll see my current specialty line. But as time goes on, you'll be able to see some new additions coming. I'm got to get some business tips for these professional women that I'm around and myself. How you show up matters. If we want the million dollar homes and we believe that we can have everything God says, we can look like that too. We don't have to look what we've been through, because see, a lot of people have seen me on the outside. And as I begin to talk about this book, so shocked that I've been through that. Why? Because I keep myself together. You have no idea what people are going through. And so I said that to say, when we pass people on a day-to-day, be the reason somebody smiles. You have no idea what people are dealing with. See, y'all gonna get me started. We'll be on here to Jesus.
Come on now.
She done asked me about my phone, and I'm on here giving a word.
I was gonna tune the organ up. I was gonna have you bring
it on.
Lord. All right now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, the lights will go out. If anything, you just keep on talking and the lights will go off.
Look, it'll be a Zoom by myself, right?
Oh, blank Zoom.
But me, you and the Holy Spirit, right?
Okay. But I do want to add to this, being a multi-talented woman myself. I want to add to you, daughter and son, whatever you have ever done, and to all of our listeners out there that are multi-talented people, whatever you have ever done, from a little girl to when you get to be a teenager, and then you step into your womanhood or your manhood, and you began to do other things, whatever it is, I always tell people these things. No matter what I've ever done in my life, that at any given time, I'm going to be doing it all in the name of my place. When I get this big old place that I'm going to have like a McCormick place, it's going to be called Maze, just the place. And it's everything that I've ever done from a little girl on up. And so everything that's in you, God put it in you, and he'll develop it out. And it'll be everything that you have ever done. It'll be everything about you. You'll be, ooh, baby, dynamite. You think you something now? Woo! You'll be a dynamite, baby. You'll be blowing minds when they step in and see from a little girl, from a middle-aged, middle girl, teenage girl. And they say, you did all these things? I did all these things when I was little. I did this, I did that. Because little kids will be going into those little places.
Come on now.
And they'll be reaping what you have, So, hey, everything, baby, everything God have in you, let it all have breath. Yes. Ooh, don't let me get started.
I know, right? And just really quickly before we wrap up, I just want to say to the listeners, you know what? Everybody has a story. We all have a story. And you could be the very reason somebody pushes a little bit harder. I can't tell you how, when God opened that door for me to speak, how many people were so encouraged by my story, sending me DMs or messages. You know what? Thank you for sharing your story. Your voice carries weight for the people that you call to. So always remember that. And if you are even thinking about writing a book, I would say put a recorder on your phone and just start speaking it. You'll be so surprised at how just that little thing will birth your book, because your story matters and there are people who are waiting for you to share your story.
That is
yes,
true.
oh God. Yes. And now that's good news. That is good news.
I'm telling you. And while you have that recorder, make sure you have a flashlight too. That's what I had to have a flashlight and a recorder. They have it all. Okay. So listen, Tasha O. Oh, I love that. I love the way you said too. Tasha O, Lady O. All right. I love it.
They remember Jackie O, so you can't say my whole last name. So I got to give you something to work with.
There you go, baby.
Go and tell the truth and shame the devil.
Oh my God. It's just been a joy. And I just pray that all of our good news listeners have enjoyed this show. I hope you all have enjoyed Tasha O. I hope you have heard her heart, and that continue to, let's all pray for one another to just continue to be everything God would have us be. No matter what we go through, we know that God, he allowed it to happen, and he allowed us to go through it, to be a living testimony.
Yes.
Amen.
So that wraps it up right here, lady.
Amen.
Lady O,
Amen.
Jackie O, Tasha O.
Amen.
I love it. Give our love to the family, and we are so grateful. Please come back and see us again. We want to hear more about your clothing line when you get ready to change into your new season. We want to hear more about your real estate. We want to hear more about the new books that are birthed in you, the new plays, all of those things that God is pouring into you so that you can pour out to the people. We know we're blessed for it. Keep sharing that good news. All right, good news, folks. We're getting ready to wrap it up. Give a big applause for our Tasha O.
Yes. All right, Tasha. Oh, we thank you so much for coming on the Good News Show. It's nothing like having you come again. Please come again. Whatever you do, don't stay away. Come back again. Our house is your house. The Good News Show has a spot for you.
For having me. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It was our plum pleasing pleasure to have you.
Right
Tell us,
now,
son,
love
don't
y'all.
take it, baby.
Nothing about tonight. Oh, yeah. Hey, it's something about tonight, y'all. Keep coming back and keep helping us spread the good news. We love you to life.
Yes, something about tonight on the Good News Show. We've had Tasha O with us tonight. Hey, I'm your host, Phil Gibbons, and hey, the man.
Nothing about tonight. Nothing about tonight. It just seems right. Nothing about tonight. Feels right. Oh, yeah. Love y'all. Love y'all. See you next time.
All right, everybody. Have a good rest of the evening and a great week. Until next time, tell everybody you know about the Good News Show. And just ask, would you like to be a good news listener? If so, hey, you got to tune in to the Mathell Good News Show on Facebook every Thursday at 7. We love you. Good night.